Hello and welcome back to the Evolution of Medicine News Videocast. It is Saturday, the 19th of March, 2016, and I'm back here as ever with my partner in the Evolution of Medicine, Gabe Hoffman. Welcome, Gabe.
Hey, James. Good to be here, as always.
Yeah, it's an interesting week for the news. Thanks so much to this week's sponsor. It is Liberty Direct. If you haven't heard of them, last year at the Evolution of Medicine Summit, we brought them to the world. It is the first affordable alternative to health insurance. And if you're paying too much for health insurance or you don't like what it covers, check out Liberty Direct. And also, if you're a practitioner watching this, make sure to get familiar with it because we're going to be bringing out a training program later this year to fit in with that program and build a direct primary care program. It's going to be super exciting. So check out goevomed.com/liberty. So this week we have three interesting stories. Now this week it sprung forward. And for those of you who've been following the news for a few years now, you know there's been a bit of a battle against springing forward because it is actually causing a bunch of health issues. So Gabe, you checked out this article. What are your thoughts?
Well, number one, just in terms of as a person going through it, I don't know if I'm more sensitive for some reason this year. I've been more in tune with my sleep, but it's been annoying. Like I have noticed it. I've noticed how much darker it is in the morning because I've been getting up much earlier in these recent years and how light it is at night. And I know that can be fun, but it really has affected me. I felt it personally. And then in the article, of course, it gets into heart attack. I mean, heart attacks go up.
Yeah, a 2013 study from the American Journal of Cardiology found that 2 Michigan hospitals saw more heart attacks in the week after springing forward than the 2 weeks before. And then it's also the same true for strokes. Finnish researchers presented a paper during the American Academy of Neurology for strokes. It's messing with the circadian rhythm. So these are like real health issues associated with springing forward. And I agree the same thing. It's just like it may be better in the evening, but it definitely messes with the morning. I just came back to California after a week away, having been in Arizona where they don't change the clocks. Came back here, got up at 6 a.m. because that's when it was getting light and I would walk down to the beach. I got up this morning at 6 a.m. and it was basically still nighttime. And it was freezing.
Yeah, I mean, when I was, when you're younger and you're just up all night and you're sleeping all day, you don't even notice these things. But in the adult world, you notice when that hour is different. And also, the circadian rhythm in Chinese medicine, the rhythm is so important, and the organ clocks, and the fact that we just have a week or two where we shift everything. If our 9-to-5 job stays the same and our lunch hour is the same and our workout is the same, but our clock changes, we're doing everything in a different rhythm with the body. It's clearly going to have an effect. And the people who are on that, that part of the curve where they're sensitive and potentially could have a health issue pop up, a change in rhythm like that is going to have a real effect. And I'm not surprised to see this information. I hope they do a lot more because clearly you need more information than just 2 weeks before there were more heart attacks than a week after. But I would expect there to be definite strong impacts from it. And, the more health issues that you have, the bigger the impact could probably be felt.
Absolutely. Well, we'd love to hear from you. Did you feel it? We heard a few people on Facebook talking about that it hit them hard this year. Love to hear from you. How does daylight savings affect you and your patients? Be very interested to hear about that. Very interesting as well. Arizona having a different time. I was just there last week, and that was definitely interesting. So, okay, so that was the San Diego Union Tribune, the first story. We'd love to hear from you. The second thing we heard here, and this was actually sent in by a member of our community, meditation plus running as a treatment for depression. So this is pretty interesting. It says, meditating before running could change the brain in ways that are more beneficial for mental health than practicing either of those activities alone, according to an interesting new study of a treatment program for people with depression. What do you think about this, Gabe?
Yeah, amazing article and an amazing direction to go in terms of strategizing and bringing together Eastern and Western understanding. I mean, this is looking at meditation and running, which is, very interesting. And then just think about all the other things that you can combine and figure out what combination and in what order has the greatest impact. Meditation after running, there's a lot of types of meditations that start like a Kundalini yoga, or yoga itself is this active movement followed by meditation. but just the ramifications of starting to look at how to piece together lifestyle habits and what are the best ways to synchronize them, I think is fascinating and will open up a whole new world, because the whole is typically greater than the sum of its parts.
Absolutely. One of the things that I've talked about a lot is with this new understanding of social genomics, where you can see that relationships and community has a real effect on health, is why not start relationships and community around other healthy habits? So like a running club or a walking club where you're walking around with other people and you're having that connection, plus also a healthy habit, or getting together a group of people to do like a CSA, community supported agriculture. So you're actually now making healthy food, getting fresh food, doing other things in association with creating good relationships. There's a synergy there. So I think there's a lot of good ideas there.
Well, eating is so interesting. I mean, think about meditation before eating and what that does with digestion or absorption. People who pray before their meal. I mean, there's so many interesting studies we could do. Definitely combining meditation with anything is probably going to make it work better, because we're just breathing and we're calmer. But it's an exciting direction to go in. And here it's specific, where it's talking about meditation, running, and depression. So that's the missing link. I think if we can find a specific, issue to target and then combine things before it will take it to even another level. And that's why I think this article and what they're talking about here is so cutting edge.
Well, it's so interesting. One thing that it brought up for me is, you obviously have like a controversy in our world between people who sort of believe in the Dean Ornish protocol, low fat, whole grain, and then like the sort of more like paleo, no grain, inflammatory stuff. And people will say, well, look, Dean Ornish proved it so many times over. But it was always interesting to me, and someone brought this up once, and I thought it was interesting how like Dean Ornish never changed people onto his diet by itself. It was always the diet and the connection and the exercise and the stretching and the sleep and the meditation. And someone said to me once, like, why did he need all that other stuff? If the eating was so good, surely it could have been good by itself. And I think, definitely he wanted it to work, and he knew there was a synergy, and, praise Dean Ornish because he's got these kind of ideas. He's proved it over 30 years, so much so that you can bill this stuff to Medicare now. And that's a huge step. But at the same time, you can see that he really played the odds by getting all of the things together. And, you don't really know if any one of them by themselves is better or worse, because all of them work together, and that's important. But always in his studies, there's always, the community, the exercise, the meditation, the sleep, all as part of the package. And that's a pretty synergistic package for anything.
And I would say paleo lifestyle is very similar. You're talking about a type of exercise. You're talking about a way of sleeping. You're talking about, and so beneath all of that is something, James, you and I have talked about many times, which has to do with the placebo effect or the nocebo effect. So, what are you activating in people when you make them part of a community who are all getting results and motivated together and expect things to happen a certain way and have seen a past success? And then you put these changes, when you combine all of this stuff, everything is powerful. Anything can work. And it's exciting to create that type of synergy and harmony, and rather than use it to attack each other's ideas, it's clearly when you combine these things, there has been success in many different approaches to health and eating and diet. And that's the exciting part about being alive today, and about learning, the way these things affect our DNA. And, when we had Dr. Bland on and talking about the dark matter and what are the factors that affect our DNA, and having, Sayer on talking about the biome and the way that the biome actually is evolving, so that we may be able to digest wheat now when we didn't ever think we could before, because of changes to the biome and to the bacteria in our environment, right? So these things are so fascinating. And what are we doing that affects our biome? Well, it could be that if you go to sleep at a certain time and meditate at a certain time, a biome adjustment takes place that allows you to process other foods that normally without those things you couldn't process. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
Yeah, super. Yeah, definitely, completely. And that's a synergy. And what Saya said on the functional forum is that no study in history has ever kept the biome constant, because the biome can't be kept constant. And so without that, it sort of throws all of the old science into question, because the biome has such far reaching effects and there's no way that it can be constant. Are those studies even that valid? And that was interesting. The one interesting thing I thought about this article as well is this guy says, meditation may also make the exercise more tolerable, he said. Some studies indicate that being mindful to your breathing and your body during workouts increases people's enjoyment of the exertion. I've started meditating, this guy says. And I think for most people, the reason why people don't like going to the gym or running is it's kind of annoying. Like for me, I love playing tennis. I love playing sports because like my mind is off the exercise, right? Whereas if it's just you pounding away by yourself, it's kind of annoying to do it. And so like this is, I think it's clear what I have to do before my exercise.
Get your mind right.
So in the topics that we're talking about here, we're talking about basically a way of reducing depression without drugs. So that, seems to be something new. Here we go.
Nice segue.
A good segue into Dr. Kelly Brogan, fan favorite on the Functional Forum, good friend of Gabe and I. So brief story here. So Kelly got a massive book deal from Harper One a year and a bit ago, and to write this book about natural treatments for depression. Now, she was with HarperCollins, Harper Wave, and typically when they bet big on an author like this, they know that they're going to get on Dr. Oz, they're going to get on all these different channels, and that's how they're going to get the majority of these books sold. Well, Kelly brings out her book, and and it's absolute crickets in the mainstream media, because she's basically talking about getting off pharmaceuticals, and particularly antidepressants, which is one of the strongest categories. And guess what? Like, the pharmaceutical advertisers don't really like that, and so she's been completely blacklisted on mainstream media, which is the first part of the story. So the first part of the story is, here's a psychiatrist talking about basically what's also being covered in the mainstream media in this time before, but probably a little bit more involved, because it's got some functional medicine pieces. And anyway, so that's the first part of the story. The second part of the story is, with her connections with me and with other people in the field, this book has gone to number 22 out of 8 million titles on Amazon. So it's actually above the number 2 book on the New York Times on Amazon, and it's completely sold out on Amazon. And it started this frenzy of people taking pictures with hashtag mind of your own, and showing that they're buying the book. And basically, it's been able to do this through these online communities. And I wrote an email yesterday to everyone saying, look, I think this is a big moment, because this signals the end of the Dr. Oz Oprah era and the beginning of the era of online communities. Book writers have been telling me for ages that they sell way more books going on Sean Croxton's podcast or Dave Asprey's podcast or Tim Ferriss's podcast than they ever do on Dr. Oz, because of the power of the internet. And now we're seeing that a book can get completely ignored by the mainstream media and still be a massive bestseller. So Dr. Brogan has joined this grassroots effort, and you can see people doing selfies with their book. And I would encourage anyone, I called it a mind of our own. I would encourage everyone who's listening to this, if you're a practitioner, buy 10 copies of the book and sell it at your practice. If you're a patient, or if you're anyone randomly listening to this, go out and buy this book. It's up for all of us to have a mind of our own. I think the name of the title of this book and the timing and what's happened with the marketing, it's almost serendipitous that it worked out this way, because I think it's going to be a sign to the market that the value of mainstream media is falling away and the value of these online communities is skyrocketing.
It's almost appropriate that the way this book is being sold and marketed is in a proactive way from those reading it, because the truth is, the message of functional medicine and taking control of our health is about being proactive and doing things differently and not having it given to you. And so, Kelly obviously has now done that with her book, and now we're all participating as a community in the same type of proactive and accountable way that we have to with our health. So I think there's almost a message in there as well.
And with, the mainstream media being so annoying just in the last, I don't know, more annoying than ever, it seems, with the whole Trump and Hillary and the news
Yeah.
and everything's bad. Like, what a great time to just cut the cable, get out of it, stop engaging with that type of media and start to engage with these online communities that you really like. And I would just say a big thank you to anyone who's listening to this. We really appreciate you being part of our community. Gabe and I will model this community for the needs of our community. We like listening to you. That's why we like getting the feedback on these stories. We want to know what you want to listen to and hear about. This is a community built for you and pretty much by you. I mean, Kelly showed up on the very first Functional Forum, gave one of the best talks ever, still our biggest talk on our YouTube channels and a big part of our brand. And all the other speakers and all the other members of the community that send us news, this is all about you. And so it's really exciting to see these communities coming and achieving the kind of results that were only previously available through the patriarchal system.
Look, it's a great story, and the fact that Kelly is, not only a pioneer as a doctor and with her book and a way approaching health, but in the way that she's selling this book. I mean, I feel like this story and this example is going to send a ripple effect and influence the way things are done moving forward. And it's a more complete, version of her success, not only as a doctor, but also as bringing this to the public and finding a way to activate her community and our community and whoever else really is out there that can benefit from it. And it's really empowering. I think it's empowering on so many levels. And that's really what the book's about as well.
Absolutely. What a great week for news this has been. One of my favorite weeks. We got some great information, put it all together here, and really excited to bring this. Next week, we'll be back with John Weeks. This is going to be a regular segment on the last week of every month. We're going to have John Weeks, and we're going to talk about things relating to the practitioner community specifically. But this is the Evolution of Medicine News Videocast. Thanks again to Liberty Direct. We are, for sponsoring this. We're not just a podcast. Look, this is a movement. And how can you tell this is a movement? It's because the sponsor for our show is something that we had a direct involvement, which is Liberty Direct, the first affordable alternative to health insurance. My covering of my healthcare needs went from $950 a month to $450 a month. And, and also I get covered for my direct primary care relationship and for other things like supplements and lab tests. Check out goevomed.com/liberty and become a member or find out about how to become a partnering practice. If you want to build a direct primary care practice, check out Liberty. And very soon we're going to be building a training program on how you can be part of the movement. Gabe, as ever, a pleasure to be with you here. Anyone else who's listening, send us your stuff to news@goevomed.com. We love getting stuff from the community. A couple of these articles came from our community, and I'm very excited to bring to you the Functional Forum live from San Francisco on the 4th of April. Lots of cool stuff coming your way. Thanks so much for listening. I'm your host, James Maskell, and we'll see you next time.